This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
I got a table, man. Let me see. Check it out, dude. I got the Inspired JC. The smoking.
Oh, some new. Damn, you keep surprising the audience with some new caps, new skis. Bag full of trick people. Tonight is Eric Iberg's birthday. Happy birthday, Pooberg.
Thanks, man. This is a fucking big one. This is a big show tonight. 20 years ago, I got to spend this birthday with Rory in Mammoth. So it's like, tonight is a special night, man. I am fucking stoked.
Yeah, man. I don't expect much things in life, but tonight I'm expecting some people to call in and show love to you and to Rory.
Yeah, I think it's going to be dope, man. Shane Nelson, I think he hit up. B. Paul, I talked to him today. We're going to talk to B. Paul during the show. We got a lot of dope ass motherfuckers. Rory even told me he got a Mickey's. You know, we got a Mickey's. We got spliffs.
Oh yeah, man. Tell the people what you smoking.
Dark Horse Farms, as always. The white CBG. Get it, Dark Horse Farms. Big up Ross Jacob, as always, man. Give love, give thanks. Great birthday. Good day to be alive.
Oh, yeah, man. What a day. Yeah, man. I'm going to kick things off here with a quote that reminded me of Rory I read yesterday. It's from Thelonius Monk, and it says, "The genius is the one most like himself." The man we got on tonight is as authentic as it gets. He's a genius at being himself.
True comments.
Yes, sir. He and yourself, along with Shane Nelson, made the most controversial ski segment of all time.
I think that's
Some
true.
said it sabotaged his career. That's a stretch, I'd say. I love the segment. He's got my favorite reverse mute in the game on skis. He's natural, unpredictable. He's got pro models with Ninth Ward, 7 of them, magazine ads, head tats, artist, great friend of both of us. Tell the people who we giving flowers to.
Tonight, we give him flowers to one of the illest, most unique human beings I fucking know, and that's Mr. Rory Silva. You may know him on Instagram as I Only Eat Animals. You're going to call him up. He's going to be right here. Screen goes split. Boom, bomb.
Yeah, man. You think he's still only on animals, or he's got some vegetables in him tonight?
We'll find out. That's right.
We are. Rory, I invited you. You got to accept the invite and split the screen with Pooberg like a samurai sword style.
Yeah, there's a little button that says coming. Like, should be a little red thing down this. Yes. Whoa. 1 + 1 = 2.
How are you?
You're looking smart, dude. Real smart.
It's my hair's starting to get long, and like maybe I've had a fucking tattooed bald head for 5 years, and I can still grow hair, so I might as well try it for a little while.
Nice. It's like a whole new person when you can't see a tattoo on the top of the head, huh?
Yeah, they're still stick out a little, but at first I was like, I'll never cut the fucking thing, and then all of a sudden I was like, God, I feel bad having all my tattoos hidden. I might as well shave the side like a Chad and fucking just see how it go.
Fuck yeah, Rory. First of all, man, give thanks so much for taking the night off of work. Fucking spending this night with me on my birthday. Phil and I on our show giving flowers. And we're fucking stoked.
Oh, I got a beer. Hold on.
Go get your beer, man.
Yeah, tell the people what the show is about. Rory knows.
Well,
He might still hear you.
so you guys that are tuning in, Rory's seen the show. Well, what the point of this show is, why Phil and I created it, is we want to celebrate people that were wicked, that did something for the sport, that brought something to the sport. And we want to make sure we celebrate these people straight to their face, which is Rory tonight. And we want to just say, like, Rory, man, like, thank you for all your contributions that you gave. And we want to spend the next 2 hours to tell you what those are. Because a lot of times the people that we're giving flowers to, like, you guys are so ill that you don't really know what you did. And you are at top of the list for me, like, someone that did a lot of dope shit. So, man, tonight is a show for you, Rory. We're going to celebrate all the dope shit that you did, that you brought to the sport at such a young age. And, man, just celebrate you, man. So thanks again. That's what we're going to do to all the people watching for the next hour.
Fuck yeah. And it was funny because I was like, don't get me wrong, I still drink when I drink, but like, don't do it all the time like I once did. And you're like, we got to have a 40. And like, I like open the fridge and I'm like, I don't even have fucking beer in my house. I had to go to 7-Eleven and get a Mickey's just because I figured it was the right thing to do.
That's all I got is an option in my town, man. No Colt 45 no more. Old English.
Cheers to your birthday.
Bottle. What's that?
I said, cheers to your birthday.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it was
with you guys and 43 random people on Instagram. But I saw your mom is on here.
Yeah,
oh,
is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely there to give flowers to Rory and for the Poober birthday party.
Big birthday
Hell
party.
Yeah, Rory. Let's give a background to the people who don't know who you are, where you grew up, and how you got into skiing quickly here.
I grew up in Mammoth, and like my dad and mom were both. My dad's an amazing skier, and my mom was amazing. Like they met in Kirkwood, and all of a sudden they were like, "Fuck, we should raise our kid in the mountains." And I got lucky because it was like before Mammoth was what Mammoth was, and like when Mammoth like started building parks, I was just a little fucking kid, and so it was like I like had all the people that were the snowboarder dudes at the time, and most of them were all our friends. And like the first person I'd ever really seen, like I like grew up with Peter Merhoff and these guys, but like I didn't know shit about skiing really. And then like all of the 1080 dudes or whatever showed up, all the Canadian Air Force, and then the snowboard super park at that time invited like a few skiers. And since I lived there, like Josh Chevet and all the people who ran the park were just like, fuck, come along. And
I want to put this into perspective, though. At this time, when he's talking about, he's 13 years old and it's 1999.
Yeah.
So, like, to put this all in perspective for those of you guys, like, who's Rory or someone that met him and, like, what did he do? Like, Rory was in the sport at 13 at the highest level with snowboarding in the Mammoth world, which all of us have been part of at some time or love it as a fan. And so I want to interject there, Ollie, so people, or Ollie, you know, Rory, so you people know, like, you're 13 years old in 1999 going to a snowboard super park. It's fucking wicked.
Yeah, and it was sick because like super park was like what made every year, even like before it was like K2 showed up and I was just this little kid and they were like, we're making this ski called, I think it was, they had the El Camino, but then they started making the Poacher and they're like, we need someone to test the Poacher and see what happens with it. And then
wait, I have a question here. Wait. You just said Poacher. So the Poacher came out in 1996.
Yeah, I think that would be when Super Park. That's because I was born in December 16th of 84.
So you were probably, if you were doing this at Poacher shit, like we're talking like you were 11 years old and this kind of age?
Yeah, like little kid. Like our friends Tony and Andrea Colasardo own Footloose Sports in Mammoth Lakes, and they would do little rollerblade things and like ski things. And then the K2 reps showed up and they were like, oh, we need someone, and this ski's kind of getting developed. And like this guy, Jeff Matura and Jeff Anderson, were like still to this day the shit. And like they like showed up and they were like, oh, we could get you a few pairs of skis. And then one thing led into another, and all of a sudden K2 was like went from like almost nothing. Like I remember my parents maybe when I was like 9 or 10 getting me like Rosignol skis, and then like at 13 like being able to order my whole family skis, you know?
So how true
I have a
is
quick
this story
question.
right here?
At
Just
this time,
a sec, I got a story about you meeting K2. Tell me how accurate this is. K2 met Rory during a ski demo 1998 when he was still a bright-eyed 13-year-old mammoth kid. Anxious to impress the ski company, he promptly skated as hard as possible along a flat catwalk towards a grapefruit chunk of ice, launched himself about 4 feet into the air, and attempted a backflip. He's been sponsored by K2 ever since.
Yeah, it was funny because like I got diabetes when I was like in 7th grade, and fucking I like came home from like the hospital and was like, my life's so sad, blah 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 bullshit. And then fucking the first day going skiing, we went, and if you've ever been on Chair 12 at Mammoth, there used to be this jump called King Kong that's at the bottom, and like got there and was like, I'm gonna learn to do a backflip today. And like first one, you know, just flew to the bottom, and then like the second one landed it and was just like surprised as could be, and I guess started flipping and spinning ever since.
So I want to know something, because I know for like you had some kind of connection to your dad, I believe, with Glenn Flake.
Yeah,
right?
and it was funny because like when I was little kid, like maybe, how old are you in 3rd grade-ish?
You're 8 and 9.
Yeah, so like Blake would be like working on snowmobiles with my dad in the garage. And then like all of a sudden I brought it up to other little kids. And I remember like me and my brother, like one day, like Blake had been there forever or whatever. And then one day all of a sudden we were like, oh, we should get Glenn's autograph. But like at Christmas time, he was like, he still is the shit, but like we would get to go over to Blake's house and he had like a drawer full of Oakley shit. And we'd get to pick out a pair of Oakley sunglasses or goggles and like stuff like that for Christmas, you know?
I gotta
like,
put this into perspective quick. You are 9 years old. Glenn Flake is the biggest icon in the sport of fucking skiing in like 1994, 95 when Rory's talking about. Check him out if you don't know Glenn Flake. Glen space Flake, Plake. The man is an icon. He influenced all of us at some level. And Rory, as a 9-year-old, got to have that as just a bro in the industry. As a 9-year-old, man, this guy covered half of my walls the same time period you're hanging out with him.
Yeah, and it was funny because like our walls were covered with like Jeremy McGrath and motocross dudes. And then we were always like, dude, who's this weirdo that fucking with the mohawk that dad hangs out with? And like, it's somewhere around that time, like if you go towards Mount Whitney, like my dad one year like didn't show up on Christmas Eve, and we were like, oh, that's weird. And he got stuck fucking trying to like ice climb or climb this fucking chute with Blake, and got stuck there like I think it was overnight or some shit like that. And like we just had no clue who he was just dad's bro. And like I said, my dad's really, he's like raced Baja 1000s and 500 and 250, and like he did like ski shit, and like we didn't know how cool my dad was when we were like, now I know, but like when I was little, we just thought everyone's dad was cool because
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Flake photos are sick.
Yeah, he's got too many iconic shots to choose from.
So I just wanted to interrupt your story about the K2 time at the beginning, because like it was like I just always bugged out. I actually thought like it was Blake that hooked you up with the K2 sponsorship.
And I think it was Matura and Anderson, like how Phil was saying, where there was like a little demo thing and we like tried to backflip off I think it was by Chair 2, but like and maybe even face planted or did something, and then fucking K2 was, and like I remember later on like, I don't know if me and Blake ever even had the conversation about how we both rode for K2 at the, you know, like I was just the little kid that got hooked up from them, and then one thing led into another, and like, so I was like, those people took care of me a bunch, and like Goot was like the team manager for K2 forever, but like Goot, when I met him, he was a ski patrol in Mammoth that wanted us to teach him how to do backflips, you know, and then all of a sudden one day we got a call from Good, and he's like, I'm the team manager for K2. And we're like, shut the fuck up. And he was like, no, really?
So one of the big craziest things, like, I want to like tell, like, in 2000, this is like the craziest thing I think that like we need to start is like, because I look at you almost like when I really broke down, like I've known you since the beginning, since 2000 when you were like 14. I met you at Gravity Games and hung out with you. But like, I didn't really put it in perspective, you know, until now, because like, man, in 2000, you had a Smith ad as a 14-year-old with you and Ken Kreitler, you know, we're at 50-50. You had a Spider ad with Spider clothing as a 14, 15-year-old. K2 signed you up to the program. Like fucking Powder Magazine ran in a huge ad, like of your, or a shot of your face all ripped off from Gravity Games from your crash. So I look at how you kind of blew up when you were 14, and I think like everyone always thought you were older, you were like a veteran and whatever, you know, and like your whole career you were looked at not as this young kid that was selling Grom skis, because there were no Grom skis. You had to still sell 180s and 155s your first 3 years as a skier. So when I look at it, I'm like, all right, dude, you're a true foundation, but you're a Grom that was brought on not to be a Grom, but to be a fucking pioneer, dope-ass motherfucker. So I want to give you your first flowers for the idea, like, man, coming in at such a young age and having, like, people kind of, like, give you opportunities. I don't think you really knew what they were at the time.
Not a clue.
Like, at all. I don't even think you did until Dubski, but, like, I wanted to say, man, to break into it. Obviously, people noticed something. So in 2000, when you're a 14-year-old, everyone found you. When you were a 12-year-old, everyone found you. But no one even had twin tips in 1998. So big up yourself, Rory.
Thank you. And it was sick because, like, this guy, fuck, his name was Mark something, but he worked for, like, the Mammoth, like, whatever channel, like, Mammoth local channel. And he made a movie called Groms, and that's how I met CR. And it was like, it was a random couple, and it was like the Boniface. Fuck, what are those two wakeboarder kids?
Parks Bonifray.
Parks and
yeah, and his little brother, and like Sean White, and John and Eric Jackson, and then like me and CR, and like I was just this is funny, maybe.
If he has Groms, I'll be blown away. I've been looking at that movie for like 15 years. I think the Tanner's in it. Tom, he's gonna shit on Rory's face. Omar, I see you on here. Pick up yourself.
I'll show. I have Dubski too, but I've never opened any movie I've ever been
got
in.
Groms?
Yeah, look at it.
Dude, I've been looking for this movie forever.
What?
Like when I was releasing old classic movies, I never could find Groms. I think even
it's still in the plastic. It's. Oh, I gotta see because probably not in here. But one year I went to visit my dad and he had all of the magazines I was in.
Yeah, you got Groms, man. No one got Groms, and you got it in the plastic. Fucking free-ski tour, Rory Silva.
I don't know what the fuck I would have done with them, but God, I wish I would have been thought of this before. But I have like all the old little fucking ski magazines we were in.
Yo, but your brother, I think, is Bo Bruno, right? He got copies of Groms in storage. I'll take one, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Big up, Bo.
Yeah, I called Bo right before this, and I was like, what do I do or what do I say? And, like, because skiing, like, I have a bunch of resentment against it shit. And he was like, don't even bring that shit up. Just talk about the good things. Everyone wants to just smile together. And I was like, fuck yeah, you know what? Thank you, brother. And like my whole family, mom, brother, dad, like I grew up with people where like we would get in trouble or we would go to ski things, and like I got to go to Japan and go to like Europe and do these things when I was like 14 and 15, like by myself, and just like got off the plane and was like, oh shit, what do I do now? And like it was like me and Peter Merhoff at the time, and like I just had no clue how great the world was, you know? And like
to put it in perspective too, for the people that are listening right now, Peter Merhoff was the first ever Oakley outerwear. Like Falou, I think, was like the first signed guy to a big contract, but Peter was the first guy to get the product, I think, almost ever. Peter had the first ad before Falou.
Yeah, and it was so funny because speaking of like that, that's how when the very first Super Park, you know, I'd heard of the Canadian Air Force kids and this or that, but then this big dude shows up and he's like mooning like people on the quarter pipe and flipping people off and fucking all this shit. And so like even till now, like Falou was the dude I wanted to be like when I was a little kid, because he was like, I skateboard, I fucking do whatever the fuck I want, I like hand plants. And I was like, holy shit, like all these, I thought skiers were just like dorky rich people in fucking, I don't even, like Mammoth, like I said, like it was before Mammoth was just all crazy people that lived there. So at my life then, I just was like, this is amazing, you know? These guys are the shit.
Fun fact, Ty sent me an email today, Peterson, and he said, because I posted our thing with Falou, our Giving Flowers, and he's like, man, Falou's segment in the game is the reason why I didn't snowboard. And I just like, I mean, that's how sick Falou was. Big up yourself, Falou, if you watch this or listen to this ever, because, man, you got a big influence.
Yeah, he was such, and a big reason too, because like I said, like my friends were like the Crowley crew kids, like John and Eric and Steven and Kirk and all these fuckers that like everyone just snowboarded and surfed. And like I would be like, it was like I was the only one that skied, but maybe I like rollerbladed till I was like in 5th grade, I think, but like 11 or 12. And then all of a sudden one day at Storm Riders, it could have been like when Matt Cass was like before grenade shit, but he like showed up and was like, why don't you skateboard? And like I sat there for a minute and I was like, I don't know. And like all of a sudden I tried skateboarding and I was like, this is just as fun. It like you can't do flips, but like when I was little I could do all the weird little McTwist and 7s and 9s on rollerblades, and like not I didn't get burnt out on it, but like skateboarding was so hard to figure out that I was like, fuck, I need to learn this one and not.
So another one of your big influences. So when was the grenade exodus from the East Coast? Did they come in the year before me in 2001 or earlier?
Some like Matt Cass showed up, but like Danny was probably 17 when the grenade first showed up, and it was just like everyone just kind of drew a grenade on their random. They had like those shitty $2 gloves, you know, and.
But
like
that was the year before. That was the same, our first year, right? Like Phil, Sarah, Schmidt, Levin.
Yeah, when did Levin make the, what was the, it was Blunt, and what was before Blunt?
2001, 2002.
Yeah, so all those movies showed up. And was Eric Street there when you showed up?
Yeah, Spree, because he had that segment in Blunt where he's like, yo, I fucking did it, dog. Like when he blew out his doing the 450 in the opening shot. Give me some props, fucker.
Yeah, that's such a good...
Spree, man. I missed that guy. He was fucking awesome.
Yeah, Mammoth was like such a good crew, because it was like, I was just like, I was a couple years younger than like Danny and them, but me and Dingo were like the same age. And so... by that time, I was like maybe 13 or 14, like when Dingo moved there. And fucking all of a sudden, it was like, yeah, like everyone I got to go do ski stuff with. Because Mammoth at that time, like Ben Shetler lived in Bishop still then. And like fucking, I like hung out with Ben Shetler's brother, Peter, who snowboarded with all the Crowley crew kids. And so we just kind of, that's where it first started evolving.
Yeah, I forgot about that because when Phil and Sarah coached the free ride team, Chris was on the team, right? You weren't on the team, were you? On the men's free ride team, the little guy?
I was the year Gravity Games when I broke my face. I was on it that year, but I was like an arrogant little prick, and like the guy that showed up to coach was like, "You do a 360 like this," and I was like, "Yeah, but you do a 900 like this," and he was like, "Oh fuck this," you know, and it was like
under the big jump.
Yeah, and it was like same thing. Like all of a sudden, Spider, when they came in the picture, they're like, "We want to bring you to Colorado," and I was like 13 or whatever, and I was like, "I don't think I can go. Can you buy my dad a ticket too?" And like me and my dad went out. Fuck, I forget the guy's name, to help him like coach a ski camp, and that was the first time I ever did a switch backflip. Was like it was like on the El Caminos, like before Twin Tips, you know.
Was it Greg Harrington, the ski coach?
I want to say his name was Christian or Chris something, and he was just some old head. We're all old heads now.
So I want to focus on this too. So 14 years old, Rory got to do the Gravity Games. The Gravity Games was the biggest event in the sport of tip skiing in the year 2000.
No, I was supposed to forerun it, and I was the first one to hit the jump switch, and so I just hit the jump switch, and then so they invited me into it, and then I was like, well, I can do rodeos or flares or whatever. And so I was like, I'll hit the jump switch second time. And little kid excited went straight into the jump as fast as I could and did like a flare-ish rodeo thing to the very bottom and landed on my face and was like, oh, I'm fucked. And then the next day, Powder's like, we want to write an article on the top 20 skiers in the world. And I was like, went from like 0 to hero overnight. You know?
That's what it was. You were a top 20 skier in the world at 14 because of crashing at fucking Gravity Games.
Yeah.
Yo, it was so wicked. Like, because like, man, this event was so epic. Like Candide won.
Oh,
Raps and Mosley got second, third. And like Kusan, we showed clips in the past of him catching edge, but it was the biggest jump ever, man. Like at least half of the competition field went to the hospital in an ambulance. It was the biggest step down. Holmes went to the hospital. Dion went to the hospital. Like it was nuts. There's like an ambulance at the bottom just ready.
Yeah, and it was sick because like I think I had colorful hair then too, and so like that first picture is like me with a beat up face, little ass kid with bright hair, and so. Then when I met everyone like in real skiing world, whenever I went to US Open the first time, like you were saying, I got invited to all the little parties and like I got treated like an adult, like before I'd even done high school.
Yep. And that's what I think like that's why this is so important to me, because I think when people like don't really realize your career was almost all in your teens that you got a paycheck. And it was like that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, and it was crazy because like I was like on the controversy in my head still this day, like I was technically never even a pro skier, you know, like I was respected as a very good skier, but like right when I turned the age to be like a pro skier and you need to pay for rent and live a life, like all of a sudden everyone was gone that I skied for, and they were like, I was like, oh shit, this is different.
Well, I'm gonna be fair on this one. The word pro is such like professional means you get paid a living wage for your profession, right? So if Michael Jordan's a profession, his team pays him a living wage. You were a subcontracted endorser for companies.
Oh
so
yeah,
like
and it was sick.
Title, which all pro skiers have, they're really subcontracted athletes that are endorsers, right? It's an endorsement deal you get. It's not a sponsorship. You sponsor poor kids that can't eat meals 10 cents a day. Like, it was the weirdest word I ever heard when I got into skiing, sponsorship. because I only saw the commercials for 99 cents a day for a starving kid. Like, what? Then now as an adult looking back, I'm like, yo, you guys all got sponsored? We lost Rory.
No, he's the whole point of the show.
Yeah, man.
And
Stop the exploitation. Nah, man, everyone's lucky. It's a privilege, awesome lifestyle. Give thanks. There's things to learn from it.
oh, he refused, man.
Rory don't like us no more. He got so pissed about that conversation. He was just like, you know what, Iberg? Shut the fuck up, dude. I'm back.
Sorry, I pushed the button.
Yo, E150. Doug Bishop is on this bitch. He is back.
Yeah, Doug.
Oh, the one and only.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
see
and like
Doug.
little kid, it was like also, I know we're bouncing around, but like the first time I went out to Colorado, like with K2 things, I like showed up to stay with like Murcon and Omar, and Dougie Fresh was there style. And I was like, oh, I really want a beer. And those guys went and bought me like Steel Reserves. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And like drank one of them and was throwing up everywhere. And it was like the people. Yeah, and that was sick because that ad was like my friend Brooke Fritz, who was just like a buddy that worked at Wave Rave, and now he's like a really respected skateboard photographer. But one day I was like, Bolé will pay you to take a picture, and Mammoth just built that S-Box. And so we just went there, and I maybe had slid a rail or two before, but that was like one of the first rails I ever touched in my life.
Yo, who is the Bolé guy?
Brett something. Brett Vogel, maybe?
Yeah, man. Big up Brett Vogel.
Yeah,
that guy was always a supporter of fucking unique people.
Yeah, he was the shit.
Rory, every show we give the same question to our guest, and it's about your description of style. Can you hit us with your description of style and also describe your style?
I think style definitely would be what you feel like you want to do. You know, like style definitely isn't like your opinion or your opinion or your opinion. It's your own opinion. And like when you have your own opinion, then fuck everyone else, right?
Yo, that's ill. The last part is, I think, the meaning of it.
Pardon?
The last part, I think, is the meaning of it all.
Yeah, like and it's so funny because like when I got a little older, like I would go skateboard with people and people would be like, your arms move so much when you ski, but when you skateboard, you don't move your arms ever. And I'd just be like, because no one moves their arms in skateboarding. And so that's what I knew to do. But in skiing, it was like, I never saw the videos of even like doing anything. That's why there's that weird selfie video I made last year, but it was like me just holding my iPhone. And I was like, well, I don't move my arms now, so I can just film myself, you know?
Yo, that's wicked, because I always thought of you as like wild, wacky, fun guy of airfield maneuvers.
Yeah, it was a different world.
You know who Wild Wacky Fun Guy is?
Who?
Wild Wacky Fun Guy.
I'm hoping
you know the inflatable thing in front of like tire stores where they're
oh yeah, that thing.
Wild Wacky Fun Guy all up in the air.
Yeah, and this like skiing is sick now because like fuck, like when was Tanner's contest?
2013. 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
so maybe 2011 and 12. I just didn't go skiing at all. Like I just didn't live around it. And then Omar, or it had to be Omar, but someone invited me to the contest, to this one thing, and I did their little contest, and maybe I got second behind Sean Fields, but I hadn't skied in like 2.5 years. And then the next day was Tanner's thing, and you guys were like, oh, you can just come up and cruise. And I went to hit the stupid quarter pipe, and my knees gave out, and I accidentally did a backflip. Yeah. And it was a very fun day.
Dude, that was one of the funnest days ever, man. Like, it was such a session of, I've had a friend session of mellow awesome.
Yeah, that's like, I would have skied again, but after that contest, it was like me, B. Paul, and Candine stayed at Sean Field's house for like a week and skied around, and then all of a sudden I was like,
Did you just
"Do you
say
guys want to go?"
you, B. Paul, and Sean Field and Candide?
Yeah, and at the time, Candine was making his first little, he does his little selfie videos, or like he was working on that the whole time, and we kept like making fun of him, like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, I was like, "We could go to Mammoth and ski," and then whatever the first little spring clip with wherever I did the little double backflip. So man, that's the guy we all need to thank right there.
Fuck yeah, B. Paul. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Iberg.
Thank you.
What's
much,
up, Rory?
B. Paul.
Wish I had a Mickey's like you guys.
Yeah.
Last night,
Looks
B. Paul calls me
disgusting.
and he's like, "Are you ready for tomorrow?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is tomorrow?"
I was giving flowers, man. We celebrate Rory. B. Paul's in this bitch.
No, of course you knew, man. I'm sure you prepared even for it.
Okay, I'm coming out swinging, B. Paul, because you're all scared. Why is a guy like Rory? Because you're a dope skier.
Let me see if I
You're
have this
with the
magazine.
generation before you, kind of. But why was a guy like Rory dope, and why was he important to skiing? From your point of view.
Just by being himself, and as soon as I met him, I knew that he was different because he didn't give a fuck about anything or anyone or anything is the right
about
word.
My friends, but
No. I know you do, but I don't know, different type of vibe where
We're talking about why you're important to skiing right now. Not as a friend.
me?
No, that's what B. Paul's talking about, Rory.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, if we take I wish I would have prepared, because like I said, maybe a few years ago, I went to my dad's house and he was like, "I've got all these magazines," and I was like, "That's weird. You kept all these Freeze magazines," and he's like, "They're every one that you were in," and it was like 20 of them with Post-its, and like some of them having like 15 pages in like a fucking 60-page magazine, and being like, "That's weird, you get the inside cover, the backside cover, and then 4 ads."
You were a big fucking deal, man. Like, before other guys were big deals. Like,
Thank you. That means a lot.
Like, even like Phil, man, he's the best. Like, dude, he pulls out his quote before about you breaking in a ski scene. He had a K2 Skis magazine. He did research. He was just quoting the magazine.
Yeah.
This ad is the fucking greatest.
Have you seen that before, B. Paul?
No, I don't recall that. No.
What is that for?
Jay Silverberg for Skis Magazine. It was a making fun of Jay Lindbergh ad.
Oh.
You remember this shit?
Yeah, of course, because K2 did a bunch of funny things like that. But at the time, like, I just was like, I had no clue. And like, they had so much shit, because at the time I still was like this weird, grumpy little punk rock kid that was like, and everyone's like, "No, you got to be this and you got to be that." And I was like, fuck, I don't know how to be anything but me.
You succeeded that. And now that we got Paul on the line, and you both did some monumental edits together, like brought Rory back to life, basically, as skiing. And Paul really pictured it like in the most authentic and just like genuine way of who you were, with like no filter. How did that come about, Paul, of you like being targeting Rory and saying, "Let's do the Dedabetic," or was it a collaborative effort thing?
I think it was just a mix of me being in Mammoth at the right time and hanging with that crew, because then we really got to know each other better, and we had cameras around a bit, so we just
We just stayed at Purple City, and like
exactly.
we were literally like on the couch getting drunk, and like all of a sudden we'd be like, I don't even know how they came about, but I think it was because B-Paul had his, and I just was like, no way, you could just film for 2 days and make an edit? Like, this is so
and I
fun.
was making you do it. Like, I was like, yo, put Mammoth on the Mac, man. We need a Mammoth edit. Like, you can do one. You get Rory Silva. You are Mammoth. I need an inspired TV show. So, like, it was all
that shot's so good.
Like, B-Paul was there. I already had a B-Paul doing a show. Like, and then you were there. So it was just like we could all work together kind of and create something dope because you were skiing.
And it was so sick skiing with B-Paul because he did tricks that I hadn't done. And so I was like, oh, these are doable. And we would just go skiing. And it was like, it wasn't, there were no obligation. Like, we literally would drink beers and smoke doobies, and then all of a sudden be like, should we go to the hill? And then like 5 hours later, we would go to the hill, you know?
That's what's possible in the best place in the world, Mammoth.
Yeah.
And with some of the best people.
You know, go kill it for a
couple. And the Donahue brothers and Kevin Malone, like all those dudes, like if I didn't do that, like I said, that thing with Candine and fucking Sean and those and B-Paul, like I would have never, I probably never would have, I would have skied again, but I wouldn't have fucking ever tried. I still don't want to ever try it. But like I'm lucky where you can just go ski.
Yeah, pretty fucking wicked, man.
Purple House, though, the Purple City House was kind of iconic for what could happen at any time.
Yeah, it was, and like that's what the one last edit, like the one of us where it's just that one, like that was just we partied one night, and I called you guys, was like, we have an edit, and it was just the party footage, and you're like, we need skiing. And so we went skiing the next day, and like all this footage is from like LT just sitting on the deck one day.
Success. Got it, man. It's your last diabetic edit. Diabetic edit. That's dope to say. Legendary.
And Rory,
as fucking Chef Maloney say.
Rory drew the logo as well. We just like put it in Photoshop and over contrasted it or something like that, and that's the logo of Rory that drew it.
No, that's my belly.
Yeah, it is, but you still drew that.
Low Cash. Remember when? What was the? Was it Dubski when Low Cash came and spray painted all the jumps, and Mammoth was like, "You can't spray paint ski jumps."
Julian LaCorpse was not stoked that we brought the city to the mountains that night.
Hey guys, I'm gonna let you go, but I'll still be watching. Thanks for letting me in.
Fuck yeah, I'll call you soon.
You, Paul.
Peace.
See you, Bob.
I want to go to the next thing we got to give you flowers for, Rory, because we talked about style with Phil's question. And I want to, like, you're one of the only guys that brought, like, in skateboarding, you see it like the most. Snowboarding and surfing, you kind of see it like a punk rock kind of culture as far as what you portray, how you ski, the music that you play, lifestyle, and what you lived. And skiing never wanted it, right? So it's kind of interesting to see like the character that you built and like all this stuff. And I was like, man, like if skiing ever got that, what you allowed, if people could have expressed themselves that way, it would have been so wicked, right? Instead of everyone just following a hip hop style or this or that. So what I thought you were super dope, man, and brought to the thing was I was like, man, like you just brought your own lane, and that's when we do these shows. It's like everyone creates their own lane in the sport, and you created a lane that the industry doesn't want, still to this day doesn't want. It's not acceptable. There still hasn't been a person like you since. Because you have to give a fuck, even if you don't give a fuck about your body and want to put their products out there when you could die every day. So big up yourself on being original, man.
Yeah, and it was so, because there were like the little things where people would be like, we want you to ride for this company, but you have to do this. And I'd be like, click. Like, I guess I'm never talking to them again. Fuck.
No,
Like which
it was
companies
pretty
do you
wicked to watch.
remember?
What up?
Which companies, can you think of any like stories about someone asking you something that you really didn't dig in particular?
I remember when Iberg was starting Armada that O'Connell was like, he's not pretty enough for us.
That's a good one.
And it's not, man, now that you brought it up, like, imagine this, Rory's, so it's 2002, and Tanner and I want to get him on Armada. 2002, Rory's 16 years old. And the reason why we couldn't get him on Armada because he didn't look good enough. We're talking about a 16-year-old boy. So yeah, it's pretty wild some of the shit people go through. So girls, you don't have to feel alone on this. Boys can be ugly too.
Yeah, and like it's sick because like skiing was what raised me. Like all my best friends in the world, like B-Paul, like I haven't seen B-Paul, like we FaceTime each other at least probably 12, if not 20 times a year since the diabetic things. But like I haven't made it to Quebec and he hasn't made it to Oregon or Cali. But like he is by far like in my head like my best friends. And like Blum, like when skiing stuff like kind of bailed and like all of a sudden I was the super park kid, like Powder never called me again. And then like fucking Bridges, the guy who was the editor for Snowboarder magazine, was like, well, then just come to Snowboard Super Park. And like for years, I would just get to like, I wouldn't ski all year. And I would just show up at Super Park and hit the jumps and be like, oh, this is so fun, you know? And I had a lot of friends that like never let me run away too far from skiing.
Well, it's crazy because like you got to watch a whole grenade movement as your youth, like say 2002, when you're like this 16-year-old watching this whole punk rock movement create fucking movies. Like they're making movies out of grenade out of Monmouth every year, and they get to be the same character as you are, and they are fucking at the top of the game, man.
Yeah, and skiing just was so against it, where they're like, you can't put like I always had studs and weird colored hair and black eyes and cuts on my face and weird shit like that, and they were always like, if you could just mellow out a little bit. I'm like, how the fuck do you just mellow out? Like you either live or you stop living. And like luckily even to this day I still have that, where like the place I work now is this kitchen called Deep Space Brewery, and like they're like, what the fuck is your deal? Like, how do you just like, you can work 20 hours in a row and like still show up the next morning like nothing happened? And you're like, I don't want to stop moving till I have to stop moving.
Pour it up.
Part that really made your style unique and dope, I think, is that you use the set pistols in the park.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. The Holy Trinity, people. If you guys have seen Dubski 106, these three people right here are responsible for big part, but Rory's segment in particular. Shane Rock Nelson is in the motherfucking house.
Yeah. So I'm gonna introduce Shane. Shane edited all.
What's up, Rory?
How are you?
And Shane.
Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
Fuck
In this whole triangle, I mean, Shane did Education of Style. Shane did Dubski 106. So we got relation to Phil. We got relation to Rory. And myself, I grew up with Shane, and Shane's the fucking man at everything he does. So
yeah, happy birthday, Iberg.
Is because of this segment right here. We get to talk about it all the time. This is one of the highlights of my career, Rory. This is one of the only segments. So when I make movies, I always say, like, I want people to love it or hate it, because if they don't have an opinion about it, I wasted my time and everyone's time I worked with for the whole year. So you were the epitome of this comment. We made the first segment ever in the history of ski movies, 100 years, where people that would get so excited to go skiing that fall and pay money to go to a movie before the snow flew would walk out of the movie because of this segment. And so, like, I was pretty stoked. We even got a page a year after this segment came out, this movie came out. SBC Skier in Canada wrote a whole page saying why this movie was so bad. A whole page ad cost $20,000. They spent $20,000 talking about how dope our movie was. So I want to thank Shane and Rory for doing this because you had a huge part to do with it, Rory. Like, and you were equals with Tanner, with CR, with Mika, with Toya, with Eric Pollard, Dash Long, Peterson, fucking Sean Pettit in 2004. And what I want to explain right now, because a lot of people like hit me up in the last couple of days saying, talk about Dubski. The whole reason why we made it as crazy as we did was because everyone had an opinion on all of these skiers. And so if you look at this movie, I think Sean and Kai Peterson midgets. They're not midgets, they're just little kids. I made C.R. Johnson Maverick from Top Gun. Tanner was a rapper in a rap video. And so with Rory, people are like, oh, he's kind of scary. And I go, you think he's scary? I'll make him fucking scary. And me and Shane spent the most time we ever spent in our whole lives editing a segment of a movie on this segment right here. And it is the wickedest fucking segment of all time. Rory Silva, Dubski 106. Big up yourself, Shane and Rory. So that's why we made it that dark. Because we knew if we could make people say, oh, Rory's crazy, I could make them say Rory's crazier without ever meeting him. What no one understands is we make motherfucking entertainment. You don't know
it was so fun.
Name.
But it was sick because, like, the first when Shane, how the fuck are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. It was so sick though. Like when I first met Shane doesn't drink or smoke or nothing, and like I like scratched through a fucking wooden couch because I was high on mushrooms, like trying to help make this thing, and like all my friends like, fuck, I think it was just Tanner, Pep, and Iberg and you, but like we like sat around and all lost our brain and then did this or that, and then by the time the premiere came around, I didn't get to go to the premiere. And so, like, I last time I saw Phil, he was like, we were all watching Dubski. And it was like, I don't know if I've watched Dubski till like 2 days ago when Iberg put it on the internet, because, like, I've definitely never seen the intro or outro. And the copy I have is in the plastic.
So ill. So ill. Like, because I was wicked to shoot even all the lifestyles, man. We put a lot of energy into that.
Oh, who made Proven Guilty? See, all my movies are still in the plastic. I don't watch them.
Filthy Rich, man. Tahoe.
Oh, yeah. Phil, those were amazing ones, too. But very lucky.
All right, Shane, since you're here, first question, why is a weirdo like Rory, who's fucking awesome, why is he important to a culture like skiing? Because we don't see, like, a person like him. You've got to edit ski movies from afar. You come from a different culture. But
yeah, right. I've got a college haircut right now. I'm very average Joe.
Yeah, well, I guess from my background, I was a skateboarder, got into rollerblading, snowboarded, skied. I met Iber because we were on the same freestyle ski team back when it was like moguls and ballet, straight aerials, couldn't do flips. And it was just like kind of stale and just a lot of rules. And so I was getting more into like skateboard and snowboard culture because they would have like more variety. And I just thought it was cool that Iber was going to do a movie where basically the skier could do whatever they wanted and have a style with like a little story. And so like one thing cool was when I met Rory, he was like, we can do whatever. Like, I don't care. I want it to be crazy. And like, I don't know if you had it then, but one thing I remember about you is you have a tattoo with vampires eating Jesus on a cross. Is that a thing?
Yeah, like here.
Show it.
That's like, and then this whole arm is like the Fuck, how do you even show a tattoo?
Yeah.
But that's his legs, and those are all the zombies drinking it, and then that's like the top of him.
Yeah. It'd be
Getting
awesome.
ate by a zombie. But that was like my second tattoo. Like,
yeah, and I remember just being like, wow, this is wild. So we came up with this whole storyline where he's like, we went to Welch's, Oregon, in like the hill folk, and we found an abandoned cabin. Do you remember this, Iberg?
Yeah.
I do very well.
And like we scouted, and I'm like, dude, I found one. And it was like legitimately abandoned. There was like 19
But I think someone
magazines.
was living in there. It was locked after we shot it the next day because we had to go back and get wrap shots.
Yeah, and so we found this like dilapidated house, and we just shot this whole story where, you know, he's like living in a house with his wife, and you know, it starts in backwards and reverse. And so to answer your other question, Iberg, like I was a Spike Jonze fan, you know, where he was trying to do something creative with skateboarding, and I feel like this was right in line with that. And so, you know, you got a mix of the skiing segment, you got a mix of story, and it's sort of just something you would never expect in a ski movie. So I was really appealing to me as a filmmaker, and yeah, it was fun watching like people respond really, really positively to it and negatively. Like you're saying, it was like a polarizing film, but the skiing's undeniably great. And like Rory was super fun to hang out with because basically we just got along really good. So he would actually hang out and help me. He helped me a lot when we were making the movie.
I had a very good time, and I want to say it was like when I did that, that's when I met Wiegand, because we went
Justin Wiegand plays the role, skiing photographer. He's the one you chop up and scare out of the house, and then get your you know, the jilted lover.
And his baby's mama was the girl that was your girlfriend in that edit.
Yeah, and it's funny because now I live like I like went to New Year's last year to a girlfriend's like birthday party that was like I was pretty sure it was on the same road where we shot that. Like,
oh, really?
Like,
yeah, that was a scary place. We just drive down dirt roads outside of Welch's, and we found that spot, and then we pushed it and we filmed in there. And I think you smoked 2 packs of cigarettes filming that intro.
Yeah, and I don't like. I think at that time I just smoked spliffs. I was like, now I smoke some cigarettes, but like at that time, I was just a spliff kid, and like was like, spliffs are too cool, guys. Like we need to smoke cigarettes and hang out.
Oh, cigs! I remember because we had an ashtray that we filmed all tight, and then you're like, "I'll just keep smoking." Shane was like, "You can put it out." We got it a couple minutes before the shot. And he'd be like, nah. And then he'd like light like 3 cigs between each shot.
Yeah, it was all shot on 16 millimeter film in that era, which was pretty unique. You know, now that would be kind of unattainable, but it helps it get a really good like film look. You know, it's grainy and but it was really fun to do something like that. You know, that was kind of unexpected. And then, yeah, the story Rory was telling where it was actually mushroom tea. You guys drank tea, but it was like too much.
It was hot chocolate, Shane.
Hot chocolate.
We boiled it, made hot chocolate.
Yeah, and but I just remember Rory would be like, he was helping me. He's like, I got to lay down. And then he'd be like, how long has it been? And I'd be like, it's been about 40 seconds, Rory. And he's like, no. Then he would sit there.
I never changed that night.
And he'd be like, how long has it been? And I'd be like, it's about 10 seconds, Rory. And he was like, oh no. So, but everyone ended up being okay in the end. And it was like me, Pep Fujas, Rory, Eric, like Tome Yolanti maybe. Like I can't remember who all was in that house, but it was definitely a wild night, and I was.
And it was sick because we like,
and everyone was just bugging out.
And we all like lost our brain, and then like when everyone was finally like normal, we're like, should we watch a movie? And I was like, yeah, we should watch. It was like fucking one of the Chainsaw Massacres or something.
Like, some kid climbed a fucking thing where a high dive into a pool. like Land of Time 1 or 2. It was fucked up.
No, that's what made the trip bad. But afterwards, me and Tanner were both like, well, we might as well watch this because nothing's going to be as fucked up as what I just saw. And like, all we did was like walk in circles around the house for 4 hours.
Yeah.
That
was when Tanner still lived at his old house. And that house was really wild. Like a lot of famous like stories happened in that house. You know, when you hear like the kind of height of free skiing, that's kind of what I think of is that era.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And everything was like brand new. Every week someone was doing something new and different, and it was always like communal. I don't know. I had a really good I would go there out there for Sundance Film Festival and then stay with Tanner, and like it was just a lot of really good times in that house.
What the fuck are we watching, Phil?
Yeah, no, I had to put my glasses on.
What you just said you were watching when you were tripping on mushrooms. Someone diving from the highest diving board in the game.
No, it was like people like talking, and then it opened up to a waterfall. It was something crazy.
It could have been that.
No, but this is dope too.
What?
Yep, that'd probably make me bug out if I was on mushrooms.
Oh, this movie is on mushrooms. Trust me, man.
Hey, Rory, can I ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
So another thing I remember is like when I met you, you were like, I don't eat anything green and I won't eat vegetables or fruits. Is that still a thing?
Dude, it was for so long. And then like in the middle there for a while, like I did the whole weed farms and that sort of shit. And I lived with all these hippies who like didn't eat any meat. And like I would just eat peanut butter every day and like made it through it for years. And then like started to nibble, but like salads are like the lettuce is here, the carrots are here. Like I still separated it all. And now I'm a fucking cook. And so,
wow.
And like all the time, they're like, how do you think this tastes? Like, we'll make a vermicelli salad or something. And I'm like, still tastes like shit. Like, I don't eat, like, I know what it's supposed to taste like, but in my brain, I'm like, I don't know why anyone would eat this stuff.
Yeah, that was
and like,
more, like, when they introed you, like, people don't understand. You were, like, very dedicated to your own vibe off nothing more than just what you thought, right? Like you weren't influenced by anyone ever. And like I remember you and Tanner fighting because like it was like a lot of people were scared of Tanner and you were just like, Tanner, come on, Tanner, just let me, like it was like he was like, all right, fine, Rory. Like you would always be able to like convince him whatever needed to happen for whatever you were trying to get. But I remember you would be like, we'd be sitting on the couch, I'd be taking a break, and you'd be like, hey, Shane, are you hungry for that popcorn we were eating earlier? And I'd be like, yeah, Rory, why? Well, while you're up, can you get me some popcorn? That popcorn we were eating earlier? That was like your move while we were playing like FIFA soccer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you made it like 2 days without leaving the couch at one point. Like just on that program, like the bathroom was right around the corner and you just had people like getting stuff for you.
I wouldn't. I definitely eating like I want to blame it on the diabetic shit that I just resented food my whole life.
Yeah,
but like I like even before I was a diabetic, like a little kid, my mom was like, "No, he just says no," and like my mom would make food, and I'd be like, "I'm gonna make a meal," and I would like the first, like in little kid, like second grade, they're like, describe your favorite meal and how to make it. I'm like, well, you put the Cheerios in a bowl and then you put milk on it and then you put sugar on it. And if there's not enough sugar, you put more sugar on it and then you eat it.
Yeah.
I should
I'll say
so
all the movies
round.
I made that Iberg listed, like a Lion, is probably my favorite, but I think my second favorite is Dubsky, and that includes your movie, Phil, which I also really like. But I want to tell everyone out there, Phil and Henrik make their own movies. Like, I help them, but they did like 80% of that themselves pretty much. Would you agree, Phil? Like, basically you did all the filming, all the editing, everything was kind of built, and then I just went in and kind of massaged it and like moved stuff around a little bit. But
yeah, I appreciate that, Shane. You definitely did a bit more than 20, and Iberg did a lot as well. But Henrik and I go in all the time. We definitely wear a lot of hats and are grabbing the camera, doing the shit on skis. And when it comes to editing our shit, we're very particular and meticulous with the way we like the tempo to go. But you put in the extra like sauce, especially on my segment. Like,
yeah, that was one of my favorites too. Tell them what segment it was, because I always thought that was really brave. How you like were getting pressure from, you know, Canada and some like not just skiing, but like actual like political pressure to like join a team, and you were like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna be a different kind of skier. And you actually
Education of Style was like Phil's segment. And Education of Style was probably the second most intense segment behind Rory's.
Yeah, it was very like edgy. Like halfway through, everything starts tripping, and like you do like, what is it like? It's supposed to be ayahuasca.
I don't know if we pinpointed an actual drug, but the shaman is right here on the right corner. He knew what he put in the tea.
If you haven't seen this movie, it's from like 2012.
Wow.
And it's like really, again, it's like Iberg being like, what do you guys want to do? You can do whatever you want. And Eric Iberg played the shaman, and it's like got to be 8 minutes long. It's like a short film almost. But there's a lot of like.
Segment was 3 songs, man. It was epic, man. Tanner, Phil, and Henrik.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, there you go. So this kind of stuff where it's like we're getting eaten by mosquitoes, but a lot of this started because of like Rory and like Dash Long, like a bunch of dudes who were kind of big in skiing took a chance and were like, we want to make a movie. And then it was kind of a hit. Like I remember talking to Johnny DeCesare, and he was just like, dude, this movie's selling like really well. So then me and Tanner got to do a movie with CR the next year, thanks to Iberg. And it really did kind of launch a bunch of our careers. And it's kind of cool that every time Iberg makes a movie, he like wants the people who make the movie with him to kind of like make the money or make the project how they want. Like idea is totally different than like Education of Style, because the athletes are driving the train, which I always thought was cool.
Yeah, for sure. Like Royalty too was like the original like one that like showed up, and like I remember when I was like, everyone's like, haven't you ever seen Royalty? And I was like, yeah, of course I've seen it. And like like sitting next to Iberg and like was like, who made Royalty? And he's like, me, you fucking kook. Like, what the fuck?
There's the OG poster from the printer, Eric.
Oh,
Shane made all the fucking the visuals for that movie.
Look at the lineup though. Candide. There's a lot of pretty big time guys at the time that in this movie.
It was the biggest dudes.
Yeah,
but was it was Mick in it too?
Because I think at the time, like you had to have a big budget and like helicopters, and Eric was like, I don't care, I'm just making a movie. I mean, like now a lot of those, like Candide is still in like car commercials to this day. You know what I mean?
He's a big deal, that Candide.
I won't say you made Candide, Eric, but you made Candide.
No, Candide hands down is this fucking like, yo, I want Candide, like, no. Candide is so like extra human, not normal.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen what Candide put out 2 weeks ago, he looks like a 14-year-old from 2022 throwing dubs on like 30-foot kickers. Candide is just the illest human being that's like, yo, he broke his back 13 years ago. 14 years ago. Yo, big up Candide.
Hey, Rory.
For Candide.
Rory, who are your favorite skiers when in that era, Rory, when you were like coming up? Who are your favorite skiers, like top 3?
Gosh. At that, but back like until like me and Candine did that shit with B. Paul and Phil, I was always like, what, fuck this prick. But then all of a sudden I was like, dude, I like the fact that he like is like fuck you, I'm not gonna learn English because you guys suck.
Yeah.
And like my favorite skiers were like Mikkel and Tanner and Peter Merhoff because they were the dudes I knew, and like everyone, and Falou always, but probably Falou was like, fuck, I'm trying to think of back then. But also at that time, like Holmes was a piece of shit that I just thought was like, he was the man, you know, like he was like Palmer style, where like I like the people that just went skiing and not the people that were like, yes sir, no sir, here we go sir.
Yeah.
And the Flake and the Holmes were like the punk rock guys, man. Like they were the most punk rock guys in the mid '90s in the sport of skiing.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, I was a Scott Schmidt, Glenn Flake. I watched every stump film. Just skied like the illest, like 200 vertical drop runs in Minnesota. Like it was like what I wanted to do when I got older, you know. And you look at the evolution of skiing since then, and it almost has come full circle because those guys were doing stuff no one else was doing. And then by the time me and Eric were in it, it was like, I remember once I got a yellow card for doing a grab. Like I did a grab on my skis and they were like, you can't do that. And I got like, they were going to like kick me out of the competition. And it was like just in time to get like, it just wasn't that fun anymore. And we would just like straight run the bumps and hit the jumps and not like, we just kind of stopped caring, or at least I did. And like Nate Stramberg and John Schmidt and me and all these we were all influenced by skateboarding, snowboarding more than skiing. And it was rad to see Iberg like basically come up a few years behind us and like kind of like just make a bunch of movies that had that feel to it. And I think that's why people gravitated to them. I think that's why you had the success you did, Iberg, because people could tell it was different. It was, you know, there was like a lot of.
It's a simple formula. I had authentic characters. And if you look at every person I ever worked with, they were an original person that knew who they were or were searching who they were and said, this is who I'm searching to be.
Yeah.
So no one faked anything. That's all who they were convinced who they were. And that's who they wanted to be in the segment. It makes it the most authentic. So like with Rory and Phil and everyone, it's just a matter of like, I don't know, what do you guys want to do? Who do you want to be? You're an actor, you try to do music like this, whatever. So my only success is because I only work with people that are like Rory, who don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and like back to that, I think that like Rafe is, I think he now he films snowboard movies, but Rafe used to snowboard and ski for like, and he was in things, and he was like the Tahoe kid that I looked up to, and then JF and Falou were like the fuck you Canadians that I was like, dude, who are these guys? And like just opened my eyes so much that like skiing is in such a little box, but then every once in a while there's these people that just can't stay in a fucking box, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
another story I want to tell about Rory was, do you remember when they had that contest at Mammoth, Iberg, and I flew out and we made the kind of piss take
video? It was a Rod Masters where Mikkel killed everyone.
Yeah, so instead of making a movie with the best skiing, me and Iberg went with Mikkel, and the whole gag was he's just like pretending to shoot people, and then, you know, when someone would crash, we would shoot all the crashes, and then at the end we edited them together as if Mikkel showed up because they forgot to invite him, so he just started shooting people. But then I remember, like, I was filming, and, like, everyone was kind of hitting the wall, like, you know, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden, this dude comes and just hits the top of the thing, and just, I don't know if you crashed or whatever, but do you remember that, Rory? Like, you ate shit really hard trying
yeah, because I think I only got invited, and they were in Mammoth, so I'd always be so bummed that I didn't get invited in these contests.
But you were like doing gnarlier stuff than everyone there, and like you and Mikkel like weren't technically invited.
Well, that's why we shot that wall ride with the fence in front of it in Dubsky, because he wasn't invited, and I was filming for the movie with him.
Yeah,
and he's doing the wall ride, and they had it blocked off with the fence. And so we're like, yo, this is dope. We can show the fence that he skis around and you have to kill it because if you come up short and you don't go on the whole length of the wall, you're gonna come off and go into the fence.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. Just so you know, like you were going bigger than anyone, and it was noticeable.
Yeah, Mammoth is still the place where I'll be back there one day. Like, the problem I can't go to Mammoth is all my friends, and even as a 37-year-old, like I'm still a 15-year-old in my head. I go to Mammoth and tell everyone to fuck off and like drink beer in the street, and like my family, like we go to Roberto's and John's Pizza in the bowling alley, and like nothing has changed with Mammoth. Like I still love it.
There's a bowling alley in Mammoth?
Oh yeah, now, but don't go there as an adult. The security hates you.
Okay, because I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I only bowled in Bishop. But
yeah, it was a good life.
Well, fuck it. We got like 2 hours with Rory. What else do you got before we go? Because we got some other colors. They're gonna be great.
More.
You got anything else awesome for Rory?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You got any dope things for Rory before we gotta say peace?
No, I just wanted to point out those stories because it was like it was just a lot of fun. It was really yeah. I feel like the era of like the early 2000s to like 2005, 6 or whatever. You know, I was kind of new to that world, but it's still some of my favorite times, you know, so it was fun to hang out and just like, basically you end up living with these dudes for several days. And you know, I made like probably 11 ski films across all different, like for Johnny DeCesare or, you know, like all these different people, but it was always different when you were making a movie with like Tanner or Eric or, you know, and so I just want to compliment you because it was always like fun. And like sometimes it wasn't always fun on the other ones. So I guess that's more for you, Iberg. So happy birthday.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Shane.
But yeah, hey, Phil, thanks for having me on. And it was great seeing you, Rory.
Yeah, Shane, hit me up if you ever come to Oregon.
Yeah, dude. My nephew and niece live out there. So I get out there from time to time. Where do you live?
In Hillsboro.
Okay, yeah. I was in Seattle and I went, you know, to Oregon and then back for a day. So if I would have known that, I would have hit you up for sure.
I'll get your number from Iberg when I get done with this and shoot you a text.
Yeah, I love it.
Fuck yeah. Good to see your face.
All right, peace. Great chatting with you guys.
Thanks, Shane.
Peace.
Hell yeah, man. We got B-Paw. We had Shane. Can there be?
I live in Portland. I don't live in Hillsboro, but I fucking work in Hillsboro, so I said that.
Portland.
Anyone going to come and try out your car yet?
What up?
Anyone ever steal your car yet?
I've got well, I have a newer car, but they've definitely tried to get the Cadillac converter out of it.
You got to do something funny, like electrocute them if they try to, like.
No, the dude was fucked. They just cut my exhaust like in 3 different places, and then they realized that new cars have the Cadillac converter kind of built up into the plastic, which you can unscrew the plastic, but it happens here.
All right. What do we got, Phil?
There's this interview in Skis that is awesome with you, Rory, and you're being blunt in it, as you should, and you say, don't take this wrong, but skiing is full of whining babies. John Olsen's the best skier there is, and he'll be sitting there complaining that he did switch 10 the wrong direction. Where do you think that, like, complaining pettiness comes from in the skiing industry, and what's your advice to people who are quick to complain?
You don't know how to dig yourself out of a hole unless you've really been stuck in one, kind of like it's that whole like you don't even know how to smile unless you've cried sort of shit. And like so many people have this life where like everything's perfect, and then they're like, oh my god, I got the wrong color nail polish, and like you're like, dude, there's so many people in the world that are like they don't even got fucking fingers, so shut your fucking mouth, you know? And like it's all perspective, where so much of the world is like it's fucked. And we live in such a bubble as snow skiers that like we are in a place where everyone in the world dreams of going. And like in my older age, I've gone on random ass trips and just like I've gone and stayed in Barcelona for like 3 months and like been sitting there with these kids from Brazil, or I went to fucking Brazil, I guess, like recently too. But like you'll be sitting with these people and you'll be like, the snow sucks. And then the guy next to you would be like, I've never even seen snow. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking? Shut up. And like all of a sudden you're like being on such a high pedestal of life, like just makes it so you fall so much farther when you do fall, you know? At least I feel this way.
I know what you're saying, Rory.
Amazing answer.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a place where you realize in life, like, it's pretty fucking good. Like, if it's like, it sucks that my friends like you guys and fucking like my friends in Mammoth or my friends on the East Coast, like where I live, like I've got friends here, but like none of my, like the people I can just be like, this is what we want to go do, fuck everything. Like you grow up and all of a sudden, like you realize how, like when I was little, I did everything I could to move away from Mammoth and like move to Portland right when I first could. And like ever since then, I'm like, fuck, if I just didn't leave Mammoth, then I would still be there. You know, like now I go to Mammoth and I'm like, Dad, why the fuck didn't you make, like, why didn't we do these hikes when I was little? They're like, we tried. You said fuck this. Like, and now I like show up and I'm like, can we hike up to Mount Whitney, or can we go on an electric bike ride up to the mountain and like sit there and like stare at Mammoth Rock? And then it's like, this is so amazing. And like I used to live right below Mammoth Rock. Like I could look at it out of my fucking bedroom window pretty much. And like I think that like it's a fucking you don't know what you have until it's fucking gone kind of shit.
Yeah. No, skiing's a special thing, right? Like it's such a privileged thing where it's like every movement that you make, it's like a billionaire movement.
It's
and
amazing.
Like, to really understand that, like appreciate it. It's just like, because once you appreciate it, you know, like you're like, fuck, man. People like every house you get to stay in when you travel, it's what people work their whole life for, and it's their third house, and they don't even stay in it. They just rent it as an Airbnb or rent out.
Yeah,
and they're staying in these houses every night partying.
And it's crazy because like maybe not last winter, but the winter before, this dude walks up to me and he's like, it's so good to see you. It's been such a while. We got to go skiing more. And I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, fucking, he walks away. I'm like, who the fuck's this Eric guy? And they're like, that was Pollard. And I was like, called Pollard? Like, man, I had no fucking clue that was you, you know? And then like, and now it's like, when I go skiing, like Griffin and Fraser and Pollard and those guys were like the dudes. Fuck, I should have said that when Shane asked. But like the Griffin and Fraser and those guys were like the first guys that were like, it's okay to do a rodeo kind of lane on your back. Because at the time, a rodeo was just like a Lincoln Loop 180. Yep. And like, and now like I live around these dudes where like when I go skiing, like I get to go skiing with like friends from Chris Lyle to Joey Vallone to like Eric, like all these kids that like that I'm like so thankful that I like am like friends with just through skiing. But like it's also funny because now when you go skiing, it's like I still am that little kid where I'm like I have to do a double backflip every year, and like I have to like last year I just finally figured out whatever where you spin left and then do the right 360 thing out. And like I'm like, I think this thing's new. I think the first time we did it was with Phil or with B Paul but like I hadn't done a Lincoln Loop in 15 years and I tried to do it and I spun my head too far.
Plum wants to know what a Lincoln Loop is and when's the last time you did one.
Oh, I did them this year for sure.
What is a Lincoln Loop?
It's a cartwheel, right?
Fuck yeah, it's a cartwheel. Sorry to
My
interrupt
brother's
you.
like, I've never once seen that ad.
You have an ad?
No, the ads that Phil keeps showing, my family keeps texting me like, where the fuck? Like, we've never seen these.
Phil does his research. He's got mags. Phil's the best fucking person to do this show with ever. He's got skis, man.
Yeah,
Tell your mom
that's
to get a
so
copy of
crazy.
skis.
I might, like, I wish I would have thought of it because there's somewhere in this house. That's why I keep standing up when you see me walk away. I keep being like, where is it? Fucking, like, I know that I have a pack of magazines that are this tall that I'm just like, it's got to be in here somewhere. Sorry, I'm trying to find a Lincoln Loop.
Oh, on your phone?
Yeah, I got a selfie of it.
Selfie in a Lincoln sideways cartwheel.
Oh,
Phil,
yeah,
what's
I
the
still
first
never
time
got a
you
GoPro.
saw- When's the first time you saw Rory ski?
It was in the movie Forward, and he only had one clip, but he was spinning onto a rail, and that was pretty avant-gardist. And I was like, damn, this dude's dope. Like, and he's right after Mikhail. Like, he came right after a Mikhail clip, and between Candide and Mikhail, like, had to be special.
So he had one shot between Candide and Mikhail and Forward. And
Yeah.
that's how the first time you remember Rory.
Yep.
Wicked.
Yeah, it was so funny because when you guys were doing the Johnny de Cesare thing, I was like, dude, that guy only ever put me in his credits. And so I was like, man, I always tried to do the poor boys things. It just never quite worked out.
Yeah, I guess that's all about how much K2 paid at the time. Because other than how do you like say, hey, older guy, film me? Yeah, because you were
Look
so early in the
This
game.
is the first backflip I tried this year, first double, but I held my phone and then realized it's harder to hold your phone while you do it. I got a Lincoln Loop somewhere in here. Fuck it. I don't know where. One day we'll show you. Oh, found it.
It's on your Instagram?
That's what a Lincoln Loop looks like.
Oh, that's a good, perfect cartwheel. I swear.
Yeah, just a cartwheel. But I've been very lucky because, like I said, I just always skiing made sense to me. Even like if I didn't go skiing for 3 years, I thought about it enough times that like I came back and I was like, oh, this is how you do a switch 12 because like it just it sounds shitty to say, but the more I didn't ski, the more I learned doing it. And then I'd come back and just luckily, like, I never had that thing where it was like, I need to learn how to ski again. Cause I would like show up at Super Park and I'd be like, fuck, I got to hit a 120-foot jump. So I might as well do a 360 the first time. And I'd have a beer in one hand and like be like, well, we'll see if this works out. And maybe there's one shot. Remember when I stacked the fucking step up? Have you ever seen this shot?
Stack the step up where and when?
It's at Snowboard Super Park maybe like 5 years ago,
Yep.
but I just ran into the wall.
Where is
I
the
got
clip?
that post somewhere. I remember posting it. But you went hard.
I don't even know where it would be.
Yeah, I tried to find it, and I was like,
But that one was, I have a bunch of like so many things, and it would be sick because like Blum would call me and he'd be like, we're going Super Parks in a week. And I'd be like at a fucking camp in Oregon and be like, I'll be there tomorrow. And like drive down to Mammoth and like show up and like go to my dad's house and be like, do you have any skis? And he'd be like, yeah, I got these ones. And like go ski Super Park for my first day skiing of the year. And it worked out great, except one year. One year I stacked a jump the first try.
Yo, Phil, Google Rory Silva crash new schoolers. Because I know I posted that shit at one time.
Dude, it was so funny because it was on what it was the Rob Dyrdek show where he shows people fucking up.
Yep.
It showed up on there and someone called me. I'm like, dude, why do they just show the worst things of you in life?
People like to see people not die, but should die.
Yeah, it's sick too. Last year, we got with the little pretzel flip thing. We would just, how we learned it was like trying to shoot selfies with our phone because we wanted to see how it worked because it didn't make sense in our head. And then it was like, oh, you just turn your head when you're in the middle of it and look towards the sky.
And then you figured it out from trying to take selfies?
Kinda. I think I learned it on a Winlip first, but then I selfied it.
Can't find the crash.
Oh, man. Phil, we have any rapid fires for Rory tonight?
Hell yeah, we do. What else before, though? Yeah, well, one thing we jumped over here is basically you made... So your part in Dubsky 106, you're not getting a hold of K2 anymore, so you make the switch to Ninth Ward. Is that accurate? Can you tell us how that occurs?
Yeah, it was crazy because I rode for K2, like I said, like since I was a babe, like 11 or 12 was getting skis, and then like maybe like 13 or 14 got on like a small contract. And then I like went to Freestyle CH in Switzerland and I got third place. And I came home and they just never picked up my phone call again. And like in December, I like tried them again and I was like at Campbell's house smoking a doobie. And he's like, I'll give you a ski with your name on it. And like, it was as simple as that, where I just like said yes and then had the ski. But it was so funny. Iberg maybe showed this the other day. And there's 3 of those skis I've never even seen. Like, and it was sick too. My dad has a couple of them that like the first time I ever saw that one was like, I came home to my dad's house and I was like, that's funny. You have Ninth Ward skis. And he's like, they're your ski. And I'm like, like there was like maybe 4 years of them where they were made, but I just didn't call anyone back. And so they just made the skis and put them out. Yeah, that next 4 of them.
So one of them too, if you remember,
I've never seen that one.
Came in 3 different colors. The size was a different color, different size, different color. Do you know who had that idea? I think that's dope as fuck. I don't think anybody does that.
It probably had to do with Campbell. Is that the one with the guy with an axe, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it was sick because Campbell would just be like, we're going to make these skis. And I knew nothing about skis. So I just was like, we want it 113 underfoot by 123 in the tip and 116 in the tail. And it was because I liked the number 13, 16, and 23. And so that's how we made the ski. And
sounds great.
Yeah, like not a clue how skis even worked. I just knew I liked numbers.
And what does maybe I'm retarded, but what's the D stand for in RDS?
My middle name's Davin, but my real last name's Allison Silva. But like I didn't find that out till I got a driver's license, and then all of a sudden, my mom was like, "We weren't quite sure where you were." Like it was before they were married, and like I don't know if it's for sure they didn't know, but she just put her name in there, and like when I went to get my driver's license, all of a sudden I like was like, "What the fuck?" I was like at the back of the line. And I could have been at the front of the line my whole fucking life. And if I just went by Rory Allison Silva.
Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what you were angry about.
It was so
top of the school directory. It would have been the first thing you
That was the only thing ever that like that I was even kind of bummed out, like finding out my name was Allison Silva. I was like, what? I could have been at the front of the line in third grade.
You could have went faster in your life with that A letter.
I like the last name Silva.
So you're telling me, honestly, in 2004, when you're 18, you put out a segment, and as a sponsored athlete for 6 years, all of a sudden no one communicates with you? Like,
yeah, and I like called K2 so much, but like I love them to death, but like I definitely have some resentment in my head where like all of a sudden like not an answer. And like I went to Sauce Bay for like team meetings, and Travis Parker the air blaster guy?
I think so.
He got in trouble at one of the meetings for making fun of rollerblades, and they kicked him off the team. And I came back from one of those like sales meetings, and it's like the owners of Big Five Sport. It's like K2's top 20 people they sell to. They fly them to Sauce Bay to show them their new shit. And like I went out there and drank at what's the popcorn in Sauce Bay, and just fucking hung out for like 2 weeks and had a great time. And then came home, and like when ski season was starting, and I was like, so I'm gonna get skis or do this, and then called them, and no one ever picked up the phone or anything. And then like maybe years later, like I ran into them, and they were like, we sent you a check when you didn't write. I was like, I still had 2.5 years on my contract. Like, you guys should technically send me more checks. Like,
that's so crazy, man. And that's why it's like people should hear that, because it's like they just took advantage of it. I mean, I don't know your scenario, but like, I don't know, man. It's fucked up. Your team manager's not your friend, is what you can learn from this.
Yeah, and it was so funny just because, like I said, like they were always there, and then all of a sudden when they weren't, I was like that. All I knew was skiing, you know. Like I did the whole do early school and continuation school and GED things, and then all of a sudden, like they're like, no one picks up your phone call, and I was like, and that's when Bolay was the shit, because K2 all of a sudden like didn't say anything, and then they flew like me, Ross Powers, and I think some runner, like out to Kansas City, Missouri, where the God, who owns Bolay? It's an S word, but whoever they are. So like they make like gun scopes and all these amazing things, but they like flew us out there, and like I got to go to like NBA All-Star games and like things like that with them, and like then all of a sudden they're like, you don't have a ski sponsor. And I think that's how somewhere in there is where Ninth Ward started, was like all of a sudden Campbell was like, fuck those guys, you can just ride Ninth Wards. And I was like, I don't know. But it was like Mikkel and Henrik did it. And then like Scott Havens and Ben Mansfield and like my friends all skied on these skis. And I was like, fuck that. Then I'm just going to go ski with my friends.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So did it bum you out as a kid ever? Did you ever feel bummed? Like,
oh yeah, I was so that's why I didn't ski for so many years. And like I would go skiing once a year was because I resented it. Like if that shit didn't happen with B-Paul at Tanner's thing, like I said, I would have still like always been like, I'll go ski once just to prove to these idiots I can do all their tricks that they spend fucking 15,000 hours learning how to do. And like, but I'm not going, like, I'm not going to give skiing the time of day, but like later in life, like I like things do suck. And like, we learned this as an adult, but like at that time I just was like, poor me, instead of being like I did X Games supposedly 3 times, but I went twice. But the third time I was qualified like 15th, and all the replacements were already used up. And so I got 20th the last year I did X Games, but I didn't show up and no one told me I was invited because I didn't have any sponsors that like for me, like no one was like, hey, you're supposed to be at X Games. I just was like, fuck skiing. And then all of a sudden they're like, you got 20th place. And I'm like, fuck, I could have won. Like if I just showed up, like it would have been easy.
No way. So what? This is like 2005?
Maybe 3, 4, and 6.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I didn't know about the last one. Because my favorite X Games story of you is off the cameras on the live stream on ABC.
Yeah, and it was sick because I had never done 450, 270, and all these kids were doing cool tricks. But I knew Kevin Jones from like just random mammoth things, and he was the shit. And all he did was 450, 270s. So that was like my only goal. And so my first run, I did it, and I qualified, I think, second or third for finals.
So what's this, 2003 or this is 2004?
This was the first year, the year I got sixth.
Okay,
but,
so 2003.
Yeah, and like it was at that time, I just didn't know, you know? And this was like those shots were all when I lived in June, and Grenade bought a fucking hotel, and it was like me and like 8 or 9 of my best friends that lived in this hotel. And like, I guess John is like the only like really pro snow, but like John lived in the room across from me. Me and this kid Jesse lived together, and the police would show up every morning at like 4 a.m. and be like, you guys got to stop playing music and doing this. And we'd be like, well, I guess we'll go to the mountain then. And like go, and like the people who ran, I think Rosie still ran it. It was like his last year there. Yeah. And he would just build these things. And that was when you invited all the people for the first like practice contest, and I won the thing over. And it was like, I skied there every day, and like whatever they built, it was just easy to do. Cause
yeah, to that, I want to say in 2003, I was in charge of running the practice event that Rory was talking about. It was a test event for a thing called the American Snowboard Tour. Wanted to try out the American Free Ski Tour, so I assembled like 12 skiers for half pipe and for slope style. And fucking Rory in 2003 beat Tanner, right? And I think in half pipe, I think you podiumed as well. Challenger won, maybe.
Yeah, and I got a first and second, and I was like so excited. And then the next year I won the Paul Mitchell Tour, and then the next year K2 didn't answer my phone calls, and I was like, I won everything. Like,
yeah, like Rory beat Tanner in 2003 slopestyle event officially. Like at this event, it was epic. Like
I think doing his exact tricks, but just better rail tricks.
You've never seen this event or heard of in your life, and it was all just a pilot TV show to try to sell the tour for the next year, which then happened for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun and like, but all those people that were in the contest were the best skiers in the world, but those were all like my best friends. Like everyone that like I would wake up in the morning and go over to your house or go over, and Tanner lived with like I think it was Travis Kennedy and Jake Blavelt and someone else, like, and Nico, and like all those guys. And another one of those shout outs was like one year when I didn't ski at all, I was like hanging out with Dylan, which Dylan and Tyler Lynch are both like from Rutland, but I was like hanging out, probably trimming weed or doing something with Dylan, and he's like, we're taking the bus up to Super Park if you want to get in. And so, and it was like at that time, skiers weren't allowed to snowboard super parks. And like when skiers were allowed, like one year Wallish and a couple of them got invited, and New Schoolers was like, why the fuck are you here? And I'm like, I've been coming to these things since it started. Like I called Bridges when he gets into town, and like Bridges was such all like anything, like I know people say great things about him, but like he's a dickhead to people, but he's such a good person. And like I would show up and he'd be like, Rory, you want to come drink beers at the mountain? And I'd be like, Yeah, I guess so. You know, like, and go to Super Park and do these fun things. And it was like one year at Super Park, they had this jump that was like 120-ish feet or something. And they were like, only certain people can hit the jump. And I'm like sitting down there drinking beers with Bridges. And me and him start talking shit. He's like, you won't hit the jump. And I was like, yeah, I will. Where is it? He's like, it's up there. And then I show up and I have a tall can in my hand. And the guy's like, you can't hit the jump with a beer. And I was like, oh, no, I brought this for you. And I handed it to him and pulled another beer out of my pocket and opened it while I went into the jump and then did a 360 over it. And he was like, they called Bridges and was like, dude, this skier kid is a piece of shit. And like, he's like, no. Like, we told him to go up there.
That's a good one. He has one of my favorite quotes he dropped. It's, you get paid to do what people pay to do.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's like the whole thing. And like, now it's so sick because last year, like, it was like, I would go ski with these random hood kids and like, I would go up there. Like, I worked at nights last year and I would go like 2-hour drive to the mountain. I would leave at 6 a.m, get there at maybe 9:30. I guess I'd leave at 7, but in my head I left at 6. And then I would get to the mountain, ski all day, like learn so many tricks and grab things that just did, like Cubans and all these weird things that just weren't a thing when I was skiing. And then all of a sudden it would be 2:30 and I'd be like, I have to be at work. And like last year, maybe 2 years ago, I was working at UPS and just started the cooking thing. And like, was like, before that, like I worked for a plant science company and we just grew CBD seeds, but they would all like, my whole life since I left, like most of you guys, like no one knows I ski. Like when I worked at Homewood, I showed up there and they're like, have you skied before? And I was like, a couple times or this or that. And they're like, they're building this little kid park and they're like, you have to wear a helmet and you can't hit the jumps. And I was like, cool. And I was like, I'll try your little jump for you though. And they're like, okay. And so I started at the top of the hill and I hit this bump like 30 feet away from their jump and did a backflip and landed on their little jump. And like, they were like, oh, like, holy shit. And like, that was like what reopened me. I think that could have been after, I don't even remember, but it was like I hadn't skied in a while and then I got hired to run the park crew and like I got convinced them they needed to build a 30 and do a 45 and do a 55-foot jump that no one on the mountain hit. And I would ski the jump every day from 8 a.m. till 12. And like there was one park here and one park here, and I built like a pump track through the woods that no person in the world could make it on unless you followed me. But if you came out of the one park, you could make it to the other park. And I just built an igloo in the middle of it and would put like an 18-pack of Busch in there and just stop and drink beers and like, you know, like it was like I had done double backflips and things like this, but like I would like go up there and be like, okay, well, like we'll try this trick, and like had no fucking clue and just had like a training year of like, let's learn every at the time I didn't even know how to, all those shots you see of rodeos, I couldn't do a rodeo to save my life when I was little. Like I could rodeo 5, but I didn't know how to spin my head around. And like now I can spin more doing a rodeo than I can regular, you know?
Wait, I'm still baffled. You said Homewood in Lake Tahoe?
Yeah. I showed up at Omar's and
So
I hadn't skied for a year or two. What up?
I'm just thinking in my head, no one has ever said Homewood in my life. Like, you know,
it was a little mountain, and like I showed up at Omar's for like Thanksgiving, and they're like, he's like, my friend Ben Mansfield's like, I could get you a job at this mountain, and I hadn't skied in a long time, and I went down there for Thanksgiving, and I was just being like, not a piece of shit, but I was like drinking and going to punk rock shows every day when I lived in Portland, and they were like, man, you should hang out here for a little while and like move there. And I think I've had 3 reampings on skiing because like when the shit happened with K2, I was like, fuck this. And then somewhere in the middle of that, I think was what year was Tanner's contest?
2013.
Okay, so maybe that was the second reamp, and maybe I don't know. I've had 3, and then 1 year with the Homewood one, and I stayed there for 2 years, and I just had like this park to myself. They would open the mountain in the morning, and they had a cat track here, and then the face there, and the ski patrol would open up, and the mountain was so like the shit. I would show up and go to the top of the mountain and sit on my tails down the entire thing and then hit this little wind lip, and it's got a little dip and you can jump in the face. But like I would jump over the ski patrol and like go hundreds of feet into this thing, and like literally not joking, like it was probably like a 80-foot gap, but if you went fast you could go down half the hill, and like you wouldn't land it if you did it because you didn't know you were going that fast. But it was like the most amazing, like, be thankful for what you got kind of moments, you know?
But 2008 was your Homewood experience. So that was your second coming.
Yeah. Was that before or after Tanner's contest?
Tanner's was 2013. So KG,
oh, yeah.
There's your 3 experiences.
But like I said, I had too much resentment, and like I love skiing to death. Like it's the best thing in the world. I've just had a couple times in life where I'm like, I can't afford it, or I can't hang, or I can't this, or nobody wants me, and then like you disappear and you come back, and it's even like the shit you guys are doing today. It's like so many people have said hello and thank you and all this bullshit that I'm like, fuck, it's such a good community of people if you're just open to letting good people in.
Yeah.
Here, a little Scott Blum interaction in the comments. He says, first run of the day, after not skiing for at least a year, Rory goes too fast off bottom jump at Main Park. Goes to do a backflip, goes huge, and does a double perfect.
Yeah, it was my first double, though. Like I like just was in the kind of like the Tanner thing. I was just like, holy fuck. Well, there's 1 or 2 options, and the second option was pull your knees in, and it worked out.
Shouts to Austin Ramali in the comments here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And Frank
awesome.
Fucking great, man. You know, Andy Mayer was a big fan of Rory Silva. He's got like some, he fought for you on some new schoolers tread. Some people are trying to diss. He was like, motherfuckers, you don't know about Rory. He's the dopest.
Yeah, and that whole, like him and Ben Larson and Locash, like the whole Washington crew moved to Mammoth when I was like maybe 18 or 17. And you lived there too, right, Iberg, then? And it was like Iberg's house was up on the hill, and all those guys like lived like almost near where Roberto's is. And I would just go over to their house and we'd play fucking Tetris and Dr. Mario, and then go skiing and trying to figure out like new tricks. And like those guys too, like I've had so many good people that make it so we want to ski more.
Big up Low Cash, man.
Yeah.
I like those Low Cash that always look at me when I smoke weed. It's like, man, all I want to do is smoke weed. But if I smoke weed, I want to smoke crack. So I'm not going to smoke weed with you.
And he was like, so, you know, like he was like a drug addict, fucking 12, 13, 14. Like he was a little kid. And like by the time I met him, I'm like, what do you mean you won't drink beers with me? And like same story, like my whole life, like I can't do that. Why not? Because then I want to do heroin. And you're like, oh,
like, all right, let's hang
out.
Typical. Yeah, what do you think, Iberg? You want to get into some rapid fire and shoot him at Rory, see what he says?
I don't know. Were you going to say something about Andy that you didn't go on? Like all of a sudden, you're like, Andy Mayer was a big defender of you. and then he went on.
Yeah, I guess like not afterwards. He developed on Andy, but I had nothing to say other than Andy Mayer's dope motherfucker, and looking up to Rory is a big compliment from
yeah, and I look up to him and his whole like he was one of those dudes who stayed true to his style, where he just like was like, I don't give a fuck if that's what I need to do. This is what I want to do, and like always just the smoothest cat on. And I think now he's like I want to say stand-up paddleboarder. He's got like random ass shit like that, and he's just like out, like totally like, this is what I like to do. Fuck you guys.
He's just being a great human being is what Andy's doing right now.
Yeah, all that whole crew is like, all of them are outstanding humans to this day.
Hell yeah. Talk about this piece of art quick that you confection in your latest in the house that you used to live at.
Yeah, it was so sick because I worked for this plant science company, and they were like, we need to paint the house. And then when COVID shit started, I was like, well, I know how to paint a house. And I was like, I'll just repaint it when I'm done. And it would be like so sick because I had so many, like I had 3 rooms that I lived in there, and I would just literally like paint Rory down the entire wall or make these things. And then like one night come home and decide I didn't like it, and just white wall, like just paint everything over again so it looks new. And it would make it like 3 days. And then I would start painting it something else.
Beautiful.
Thank you. There's none of them in this house. I live in an apartment now. My house looks very, very boring. That one says Rory.
Now you're a cook and a golfer, and you got hair. You're a new guy.
Yeah, but I still curse a lot. Fuck, I even went bowling the other day. Like, I'm just becoming like a fat Joe American. I'm just going to become lazy and drink non-alcoholic beers. Pardon?
Help yourself, Rory.
Yes. And it was so sick because I was like, no, I don't want to talk about bullshit thing. And then, then you guys were like, then the week I was going to do it, you guys had Johnny. And I was like, that's sick. And then I talked to Iberg. He's like, it's my birthday. Do you remember when, like, because my parents were the shit. And, like, they would be in Mexico. And we had a nice house. And they'd be like, just have your friends, like, don't fuck the thing up or smoke inside or this or that. And, like, we would have all the kids that, well, half of them would be Canadian, so they didn't even know of things. But, like, all the kids who didn't have parents, like, we would just make random shit at my parents' house and then clean the place up. And it was, like, never a problem at all. And, like, my mom and dad, like I said, they've seen some scary moments and they've seen some amazing moments. And, like, they've never once been like, you know what? Fuck off, you know? And like,
yeah, man. 20 years ago, we had the dopest Thanksgiving at your house. We had 30 pies. So imagine like Mammoth in the fall time. So 20 years ago, it's 2002, right? Like everyone's there. I had my golden birthday like the night before. So today's my golden birthday 20 years ago. Fucking dominated the sushi restaurant. Had like 75 people there. Brad Holmes, Liz Ass Fire. So you want to see a flaming asshole? Candide was like, everyone was there. And then we all went to your house the next day for Thanksgiving, man. So we all like did like 2 turkeys in your double oven. Did,
yeah,
like,
it was like the Phils and Sarah and fuck, was Tanner, I think, there?
Yeah, for sure.
And it was like, it was every one of the people we've been talking about for so long, all at my parents' house. And like my mom calls and was like, they're all there? And like, okay, just, you know, like I said, my parents are, I got so fucking lucky with family. Like my little brother was like always like, I don't know, man. Like, you shouldn't. Like, I'm like, you should smoke a doobie, or you should drink, or like, I would find something out and then tell Bo and be like, you got to try this. He'd be like, I'm 12. Fuck you.
Well, big up moms and dads, because it's a theme of the show. It's a reason why we all get to like be here. It's motivation to be a good mom and dad if you're watching this. Because man,
Yeah,
big up moms and dads, man. Big up Sally.
all of ours, because they did something right. Like, and people all over the world, like, they're like, how do you act like this, or where do you get your manners? Because like, if you see me, I walk down the road with a cigarette in my hand and tattoos on my head, and then I'm like, pardon me, can I please have that? Like, I still have very good manners when I ask for things, but like, if someone's a dickhead, like, I'm very quick at being like, and then like, people are like, whoa, I've never heard you talk like that. And you're like, I'm missing my teeth and shit for a reason. like this is normal.
Are you still rolling 2-foot pinners?
Less. Fucking, like, I still have trays and bags of weed all over. I just like, if I smoke doobies, I get a hangover more than like alcohol. Like, the next day I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. I'll just watch fucking, and like, if I'm like stony hungover, like, I watch stupid YouTube videos on like how to swing a golf club, or like fucking like the normal bullshit, like the things that 12-year-olds watch. Like, I watch Mr. Beast videos and bullshit like that like, and then like one day I was like, I gotta stop smoking weed because I don't give a shit about any of this stuff.
Wait, you don't smoke weed anymore?
No, I smoked it last Sunday, but like, I don't smoke it every day. But this is like, last year I did it too, where I made it all of like Halloween. I always go to Burnside and get wasted and like run around and get beat up and fucking like, this is so fun. And then on November is like my New Year's, where I'm like, I'm gonna drink less and smoke less, and it's sick because like, now, like, look how long a Mickey's has lasted me fucking 2 hours.
Yeah,
like,
man.
like my normal lifestyle, like, I drink 18 beers in 18 minutes, you know? And like, and for work, like, when I first started working at the place, they're like, you smoke weed? And I was like, no, I'm not smoking right now. And I pulled 6 spliffs out of my pocket. And I'm like, well, just in case. I just know that, like, to want to be, I fucking don't want to say being an older person, but like, to still get motivated. And like, now I even go to the fucking gym, which I despise the gym. I like wake up and know I'm going to the gym, and I just like look in the mirror, brushing my teeth, going, you piece of fucking shit. like, which most people are like, you're going to the gym, you're doing something good for yourself. I'm like, I can't believe you're at this point in your life. But if I don't go to the gym, then the shit that happened at Tanner's contest will happen. You know, like, I'm not going to look at a jump and be like, I don't know. I don't think I'm able to hit that. And like, it's going to happen one day. But like, I hit a jump and I do a rodeo 5 and then an opposite mute 7. And then I'm like, sit there tapping my ankle, and I'm like, do we try double backflip or do we try double flat spin? Like, am I going to over rotate and have to do a 180, or like,
no, I just realized what your brain thinks your whole life. Yeah, I didn't realize that that's your protocol. You just did exactly what you did, like you said, since maybe like 2003. Like, those are your 2 tricks: warm up, see if your body's good, and then you go or quit.
Yeah, and it's like I can do those things like they don't, and people are like, it looks really good, and you're like, it's just because it's like, if I go off it, I can't even straight airing jumps. I'm like, oh my god, and then like, if you do a backflip, you're like, oh, this is same old shit. But this, like, going off the jump is horrifying.
Fucking awesome. It's rapid fire time, Phil. I just looked at the time.
Yeah, you ready for this, Rory?
I think so.
Favorite ski movie?
Ooh. Well, it sucks. What was the Sixth Sense? Was that the Solomon movie back in the day?
Sixth Sense was MSP. 90s.
No, what was Johnny's first one?
Degenerates or
State of Mind?
State of Mind.
No, it would have been Degenerates for sure.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah.
Worst ski movie?
It's definitely not true, but like I hated the whole East Coast. And so all the level 1 stuff when I was little, I was just like, these dudes hate me. So I like, and to be honest, I've never even watched one. But like in my head, I was just like, they're not from Mammoth. I hate them. You know?
That's awesome. Wooter.
Fruits or vegetables?
Oh, I have a blender and I just put them in the thing so I don't have to eat them. And I'll drink either or. But as long as you can drink it, I'll eat it.
Favorite skater? Skateboarder?
That's so hard. Like right now or in life?
No, your all-time favorite. Like if you had to.
It definitely would either be Reynolds or Ali Boulala.
Ooh. Best skiing style of all time?
I would definitely either say, well, of course, Mikkel, but like if it wasn't Mikkel, I think that fucking like Pettit is the shit. Like just how he's an off the couch motherfucker too. That like I haven't seen Sean since he's even been kind of an adult. But like I remember when all of a sudden I saw whatever the shot is where he does the rodeo 7. I just was like, dude, and like I knew him as the little park kid, and so I just loved how him and Kai, the fucking the little people from fucking Dubski, are probably holding the top place.
Epic.
Wicked.
Worst style of all time?
It sucks to say, but the Schraubs, but they were the coolest before, like they did the double corks and all this shit first, but like the last time I saw them, I was just like, dude, who are these redneck? If you're not from Mammoth or Tahoe, then you're just like, if you go east of Reno, you're in Europe to me. Like America is only fucking California, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada. Not even Nevada, Reno.
Favorite ski movie song? Can you think of one?
Yeah, Beautiful People. Of course.
Beautiful people.
Beautiful people.
Yeah.
Backward or forward skiing?
I like, if you're just carving, regular. But if you happen, like switch 5s are definitely the coolest like thing you can do on skis, just because it's such an easy thing, but there's 40,000 ways to do it.
Agree. Would you go poles or no poles these days?
Oh, it's so funny because like I was so against no poles, and then one of the times I came back to skiing, I had no poles, and I was like, fuck, at least you can hold a beer when you don't have poles. And now like I go skiing with my brother and my dad, and they're like, Coop, you need to grab your fucking poles if you're going to ski with us. Like, you're not allowed to ski with your family members without poles. Go do that shit in Oregon. But like all the selfie stuff, I don't have poles.
My favorite thing was Lane Connect said, like in one of the movies we of your clips, He's like, because you always made a comment when people would make fun of you for not having poles. You're like, but beers are poles. And I can't hear you saying that. It made me laugh. Beers are
Yeah, and like if you can hold a beer, your arms will never move skiing. And I had a big problem moving my arms. So I had to figure out you figure out little shortcuts in life, and that was mine, was like have a drink in your hand and like even like fucking Starbucks like cold coffee, like with the straw, and you do the little flip with the straw in your mouth, like you're not moving your hands at all. Like
That's a great one. And last but not least, but this one you can take your time. Who would you like to give flowers to? Name some anybody. You already given some, but
well, of course, B. Paul and Dean. I always call it Can Dean, Dean Can, because Dean can do everything. And fuck, but there's so many random ones from like that, like people like the Rafes and the fucking like Eric Spreets and like the people that like were the skiing people that made skiing are like the people like I was trying to get I sent so many messages, like Liam too. Downey is like the shit at life, you know? And like, I think maybe being little, I'm like, this person had the best style or this or that. But like I said, when I was little, I was such an arrogant little prick where I even hated Candine sort of style because I was like, he just thinks he's so good. And then when I was like older, I was like, dude, he is sick because he's not willing to learn English. like
he just don't give a fuck like me.
Yeah, and I like that I don't give a fuck about you mode.
Hell yeah, Rory. Thanks for blessing us with your presence on this 43rd birthday of Eric
Iberg. Our 21st episode, our longest episode, a birthday episode, a Rory Silva motherfucking episode. So Rory, from Phil and I, man, we want to thank you, man, for everything you did for skiing, because like you created own path. There's kids out there, they hear the death metal shit. They see like all the different style that you could bring, and it's like, I don't know, it's needed. You need to have different styles and different flavors in the sport. It's really awesome that you're one of the very few, if not only, person of your character and persona in our sport. So we want to thank
Phil and Dolo
for everything you brought.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing amazing things. Both you guys know you have a place to stay if you ever come to Southwest Portland, and fuck the whole world. Like if you're in Southwest Portland, say hello. We'll go. Even if I'm not drinking, I'll go drink a beer with you. Don't get me wrong.
Hell yeah.
Love you guys to death. Can't wait to do it again.
Love you.
Yeah, man. Give thanks, Rory. Take care. Talk soon, man.
Fuck yeah. Enjoy your days.
Peace, Rory.
Peace.
Later.
Boom, bomb. Disconnect.com. Yo.
Check it out.
Another dope Wednesday. Birthday.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
thanks.
A long one.
And people for Eric Iberg's birthday and the giving flowers to none other than Rory Silva. God damn, that was great.
Dude,
and, big up Iberg. You're the fucking man. Like looking at it, and when Shane came in to drop his little piece about like the characters that you put in the movies and also like how you made your movies, just like the extent of the freedom you give to every skier, the platform, and also the direction was what made me pursue my direction today and really not give a fuck about anything else but what I want to do. So give thanks, man. It's a lucky life to have you in the life.
Man, give thanks, man. It feels good to be alive today as every day, and I appreciate the nice work.
Ba-ching!
Next week, we might have the best show ever. So all of you fucking 18 people listening, next week, we got the illest human being of all motherfucking time. One of Les Trois Philip Belanger, s'il vous plaît. So, man, like, I can't tell you, next week is a pleasure. It's going to be big. Like, I'm beyond stoked. I'm going to have to drink coffees. We're going to stay up late, have to charge the phone, man. Give thanks to Rory, man. Next week, we got Phil. We got Phil right here, man. Give thanks for Phil. I'm happy you got your voice back. We're back in action. 22 next week.
Peace, people. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good night. Peace.